This meeting is being recorded.
All right. So I have the bell. My software cancels out the sound, so I'm going to go ahead and click the digital sound. Here we go. Hey, how about that?
that worked well.
The things we do for technology, right? That's funny. Okay. So let's go ahead and begin with the four-way test, and I'll click just to keep cadence, but everybody knows the drill. The four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill,
better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Awesome. We do have one distinguished guest. I don't see anybody else as in like a regular guest, so I'm going to skip over that one for a second. Go on to announcements. I don't have any announcements for the good of the club, and maybe just at a time we could kind of blush through this one. But if you do have something important, please do let me know. Nope. All right. And updates, I do not see someone I was looking for. In the future, we will have updates about various topics for various committee chairships, and stay tuned on that one. We do not have a sergeant at arms today. No, we do not. Okay, so I'll go ahead and handle this as well.
I can do it if you want.
Oh, please. Yeah, by all means.
Okay. I know I feel bad. I wasn't here last week and I've been traveling a lot. So let's start off with birthdays and anniversaries. Anyone have any birthdays to celebrate?
I do, Jen.
Go ahead, Sam.
This is, please don't take it as a sad buck, but I really am happy because I was just thinking my dad's birthday, he passed in March, and my dad's birthday was last week, and I didn't think to bring it up, but his birthday was Wednesday. And so I was just really happy thinking about my dad and looking at old pictures and thinking about him. And first time I won't have him for his birthday, and that's okay. It's all right. So there you go.
Hey, you honored him and the memories that you shared with him. So that's great. That's great. Anyone else have any birthdays? No? Well, I'll jump in. I had a birthday on the 10th. So, I'm 29 again. Getting really old, but hey, it saves on candles. All right. How about any anniversaries? Do we have any anniversaries today or this week? No? All right. Oh, thank you, Denise. Saw your happy birthday message. Okay, let's start with sad dollars. Does anyone have any sad dollars? Oh, we're all in good spirits. That's great. That's wonderful. All right, let's move on to happy dollars. Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a happy buck. So in addition to what I shared earlier, my happy buck is I am going to go fly to Vegas this Saturday. And I'm taking my boys and my wife, and we're going to go spend the week and check out the Hoover Dam and go to Circus and play games and spend some time with my mom and my sister and her two boys and her husband, just trying to shake things up a little bit. First Thanksgiving without dad around. So it's just kind of like a fun idea to get out and do something fun. So we head to Vegas for a week next Saturday.
That's fantastic. I hope you guys have a great time. Sounds like you're going to make some happy memories. Susie, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a happy buck this week, and I'll probably have more next week. But my Rotary exchange student from 2015-2016, Daniel Silva from Brazil, will be here for Thanksgiving with me. He'll be here from Wednesday. So he's now living in San Francisco and has a great job out there, and graduated with a 4.0 from Georgia Tech in May of 2021. Really amazing young man. And yeah, it'll be great to have him here. And I'll see if, I can't remember what time he arrives. I might not. Oh, he arrives Wednesday. So maybe the next Tuesday, 2 weeks from now, I can get him on the call with us, because he was a Rotary exchange student. So met him through Rotary. So I have a happy book for that. It'll be fun to see.
Awesome. That's awesome. Anyone else have any happy dollars? Michael, go ahead.
I said this before the start of the meeting. I have a happy buck. I started gallon 15 with a pint of blood this morning, donated. So
yeah,
I
That's
can
fantastic.
encourage everybody as a way of serving is to donate your blood.
That's great. Anyone else? If not, I have a bittersweet dollar. One of the horses, when we went to the Breeders' Cup, we had a horse in one of the races, and she finished unfortunately last in the race. However, the next day, she for $1.5 million, and of course, I don't own all of her. I own a tiny fraction of her. It's fun to watch her sell, and she's on her way to Japan to start her next career as making babies.
Wow.
Yeah. So, anyone else? All right. In that case, let's see. All right, there's a fine for whoever is not wearing a Rotary shirt today. Sam is the only one that I see with a Rotary shirt on. So I think everyone else needs to pay their $1 for not wearing their Rotary shirt.
Good job, Jen.
Or a pin, right? Yeah, good.
Or a pen. Yes, or a pen. So on that note, Sam, I am going to hand it back over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That was so lovely and energetic. You're the best. Let's go ahead and do our speaker. And Mike, do you want to do the honors?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to open with a quote from Buddha that Frankie provided to me. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. Dr. Frances Rinaldi reported waiting tables allowed her the ability to grow and to own 3 businesses. The first, a restaurant, second, a real estate company, and lastly, a chiropractic office where she and her husband practiced together. Frankie practiced chiropractic for 38 years and retired 3 years ago. Her husband, Andre, retired this year, and he was a former member of the Indian Club and a state champion for seniors in judo, I think it is. I wonder if he tosses her around. Since she was a small child, art remained a dominant love in her life, no matter the career or circumstance. She studied art in many forms through the years, including the studies of mosaics and sculpture in Italy. Storytelling became a new love in 1992 and inspired her to author 6 books. She presently has another in the works. She and Andre have 2 daughters, 3 grandsons, and a great-grandson. She has enjoyed the world cycling and hiking. She hiked the Northern Camino and Portuguese Camino routes, Mont Blanc, Machu Picchu, and cycled across the US in 5 different directions and 4 countries, including Bhutan, which is today's inspiration. By the way, I think she broke her hip on one of those cross-country bike trips. The Special Spotlight Theater, helping members build pride through dance, and Zonta, fighting against domestic violence and human trafficking, are 2 organizations dear to her heart. I give you Frankie Rinaldi. You're muted.
Yeah, Frankie, you're on mute.
I was also muted and was trying to applaud when Michael introduced her. So,
Am I there now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, the Bhutan is probably one of the more spiritual rides. You know, you have athletic rides and you have spiritual events. And so Bhutan would qualify, I think, in the spiritual realm. So it is a country that's national gross product is happiness. This is an idea. These are about the only police there are in the entire country. There's only a couple of countries that I know that guns really aren't allowed in the country and to the people. Bhutan is one and the Azores is another. I'm sure there are others, but without the guns, seems to be a little easier circumstance for happiness. So we'll go on. So next, yes, this would be the Palace of Happiness. It's where the king and the queen live. They are a young couple. We ran it out cycling. The king was out cycling, and we actually got to talk to the king while we were cycling. He is a fan. It's like sort of being in an Asian Camelot. They're very handsome couple, young. The king stays in place till he's 65. And when he took over, he changed the government to a constitutional monarchy, gave up the palace, and it's now sort of a parliament. Everywhere where you go, if you ask how things are fixed, they say, well, you just go to the king and he'll fix it. And what they really mean is they take care of everything, their people, their health, and until there is a real problem, then you can go to the parliament and they will help you. Find land for a kid, get your health fixed, because no one takes advantage of it. So that is also a good ground for happiness. Next. There were 12 of us cycling with the group. That we were in I don't know what you really call them. I'll call them like the Bhutan bed and breakfast. These were people in the neighborhood who got into their beautiful garbs. The guys the garment is called a go. For the women, it's a kira, and they have ceremonial ones. And they came and performed for us, just us 12. Beautiful music and all in costume, since we wouldn't be there for the celebration. The next picture is the girls, and they changed, I think, 4 times through the evening, and it was quite a beautiful event. Next. I put this in there, it's blurry, but only to remind me. They sleep on, a lot of times, the kiras that they wear, that are saved for ceremonial, and they cover them. This particular one, which you can't see real well, this woman was offered $1 million for and refused it because it's been in her family and it means everything to her. And the queen actually borrowed it for part of the ceremony of her wedding. Next. This is just a different view of the palace. I'll tell you now, I can, when I mention any names of the places, I am massacring their language, because the towns I can pronounce, the king's name is King Jamer Khazar Wanchak. And so the Tibetan monks' names and the rest of them, I'm really not saying real well. Next. These are Tibetan monks. And it's called Chami Chanlonk, and it's probably one of the most famous temples. The monks are about really all over the country and the countryside and what have you. And they're quite interesting. Almost everybody in the country speaks English, and later on I'll explain how that happens. Next. This is one of the guides. He did most of the cooking for us. And they're very funny. I'll just say that. They have a great sense of humor. Next. This is pretty common. Women selling their wares in the middle of nowhere, in the countryside, in the mountains. You can get, food, coverings, whatever, and they're just sitting in the mountains, just selling their wares. Next. This is the Main transportation for people. I mean, they walk everywhere. They walk miles and miles and miles and miles. If you say that you're going to see them, they may tell you that they'll see you in 4 or 5 hours because they are going to be walking. This bus does travel these dirt roads and provides passage on occasion. Next. This is happened to be a friend of one of the gals we were riding with, who gave us, who walked, I'll tell you, 5 hours to come and see us. And she teaches in the mountains. Power is not a problem for them. In fact, that's how the country makes its money. It provides electricity to both China and India. And they are a progressive people, but they do not want to lose their country. So they are 98% Buddhist. They dress in their kiras and goes even when they work in the farmlands. And what they have is people from other countries can come and teach. So they have these huts that have power and have computers. And the teachers have to follow all their rules, live in one of their kind of little hut things that they live in, or house, to teach. And you have to know how to speak, obviously, their language. And then they teach all the subjects through the computer in English. So they really are an amazing, amazing country. And it's a country of only 3 million people. Next. And these guys, yaks are everywhere. You can go. Next. We were cycling and we were at a temple, and there was a group of women. I'm not sure you call them nuns or monks, but they had never been on a bicycle. So we had a lot of fun teaching these gals how to ride a bicycle. Next. This is one of the largest Buddhas in the country. It sits on a side of a mountaintop, and it houses 100,000 other Buddhas inside it. Next. These are our guides again. The guy who accompanied us on the bike, I am sure could outdo anybody in the Tour de France or anything. There are no roads. I mean, it is mountain kind of biking. And this guy would ride through the night when he left us. I don't know how many miles away he was, but he could go up a mountain, back a mountain, a couple of times while we're struggling up it, and just as strong as you could possibly be. And everybody is pretty fit in this country because they walk everywhere. Cycling is something they set up just to get Westerners or other countries the ability to get around the country. It's not that popular. Just little things like when we were there, we had certain things that we just left because from helmets to things that we had brought that were to help us because they don't really have it there. No.
Frankie, what kind of elevation are you dealing with?
Anywhere from 8,000 to 12,000. So we're up there, we're down in the valley, which I think was like around 5,000, and then, climbing and then up and down. This particular is a Tibetan monastery that was destroyed by the Chinese and the monks were killed. And you probably, those kind of stories. It's called the Juk Wall Temple. And it was destroyed by the Chinese in, I think, like the 1700s, 1800s, I forget. So don't quote me on that. So next. This is a typical kind of road that you'd be on. This is probably one of the better ones. A lot of times the rocks are loose. And so I just put that in there just so you could get an idea. What I didn't put in there, which I should have, was that this is summer, but while we're in where you can get around where everything, but it's still pretty cold and you're still, and I didn't put that while you were here, we're still looking at snow-covered mountains all around us. So, next. And this is one of the few towns that exist. And this is a common thing to find the yaks, horses, what have you, just walking around, and they know exactly where they're going. It's not like it's a free range thing or lost. This guy's going home. He took somebody somewhere and he's going home, and then he'll come back and get them. So, and this is one of the shots, probably one of the most known things for the country. It's called the Tiger's Nest. It's where one of their most famous gurus taught. It's an all-day climb of steps, and you get to the temple, and inside the temple there is the cave, and then you're in a very dark cave, and there's a ladder that you can go down into the cave, which is a very small cave. And that's where he taught.
Am I the last one of today or?
Hey, somebody mute everybody. Sam, would you mute anyone who's not muted? Thank you.
And so that would be there on the way. There is a cave, and you'd have to go up probably another day's climb, where a nun has lived there for like her whole life, and I think had been there when we were there about 30 years already, has never left the cave, and depends solely on other pilgrims who will bring food or what have you, and has been praying there for her whole life since she was a young girl. And so this is obviously a great pilgrimage for many to make. Next. And this is just trying to show how far down we were and how far we had to climb up to get to this. And there is the little spot that you see before the actual temple, some monks have set up to give you some refreshments before you go into the temple. Next. And this is just a view of one of the towns, Thimphu. Next. Just a reminder of all the prayer flags that are everywhere. The prayer flags are done to wish somebody well for a wedding, for remembrance of somebody who's passed, or sometimes even just to wish the country, lands, good wishes. Next. And this is another temple that, which I can't pronounce the name, but just an example. And these temples are scattered and all over the country. And they're usually like somewhere where several people are living in the countryside so that they can come to these small temples. And the monks themselves, there isn't, this is an example. No, that's okay, you can go next. This is one of the schools that they have set up that will teach different things from the dressmaking. You can go to the next. This is the city of Perot. You can do next. And this is just a reminder that there's only one plane that comes into the country. It makes 2 stops coming in and it makes 2 stops out. They are really working on trying to control influences from elsewhere. If you go there, you have to really be going on a bike trip, studying nature. They have it set up so that you actually go there in a controlled, environment to visit the country. And that's all my pictures. So now you can just ask me questions.
Frankie, you were there how long?
Almost 3 weeks.
Wow, and it took what, about 36 hours to get there or something, or?
Yes,
long flight.
that's one of the hardest things. Well, I actually went to Thailand first. And Andre and I spent a week in Thailand for, I guess, a little over a week. And then he came home. So going, I at least had the stop in Thailand. Coming home, it took me 45 hours. And I thought by the time I got home, I'd never travel again. So
I've been there. I've done that kind of thing too. What was the food like?
quite good. They eat meat but a lot of vegetables, I think this is in Thailand too, where you see these beautiful cakes, but they don't have sugar. So they're more like bread, so that it looks like you're going to eat something sweet, but it's not. But they have sweet teas that they make from the rice. And so, and some little cakes and stuff from rice. So, but I found it quite good, although they actually went out of their way to try and find foods that we might like, which it was okay, but they tried.
Mike has his hand up.
Frankie, what was the most evident influence, Western influence that you observed in the country, and what Western influence was the least noticed in the country? Actually,
you don't see a lot of Western influence anywhere. And I'm sure that's done quite purposeful through them. I mean, you're not going to see a McDonald's. You're not going to see anything except, I guess, the only real evidence is the fact that they are learning languages. And part of it's because they saw what happened to India, and they don't really want to see that influence happen to them. I mean, they're looking at places like Nepal, and they don't want it. And so they're trying very hard to keep their way of life in the way it is. And I mean, when you talk to the kids, you take the guides. And the other thing that I didn't mention is that basically it's a female-based country. The women control the land. And so like with our guide, his reference was always, well, we'll see if my grandmother lets me go to someplace. So that is certainly not a Western kind of culture. And they're very respectful in that manner. So the fact that they are wanting to know, they know everything that's happening. I mean, it's not like they're uneducated. They are. It's just that they don't. They don't show it. They still keep their culture, but they are watching the internet. They know everything that's going on in the world. They're not. It's just that they're trying to keep their culture pure.
You were going to tell us why they speak English.
Well, just because it's not just English. They're very they want visitors because that does bring money to the country, but they want it controlled. So it's not like one may know German very well, one may know Italian very well, one may know, and just to give you an idea, the homes that they have are these beautiful wooden structures, and they're small. Then everyone has a little temple inside it where nobody goes, where the visiting monk, it's his room. And that's it. Nobody else uses it. And so I asked, I said, well, who does all these beautiful paintings and artwork on the side? They're all decorated quite beautifully. And the response is, well, there's always an artist in the family. It's like they already look for what talents there are in their own families and put them to use. And so it's a different kind of culture altogether.
Ailish, do you want to go first?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. I just first want to apologize that I didn't put myself on mute when my doctor's office called. So someone did, and whoever did, thank you. But that you may not know that Finola, who's on the call, was also in Bhutan. She spent some considerable time in Bhutan, and I remember talking to her about it. And just like your talk today, thank you very much. It was very interesting. So Finola was there too.
I with a tee up like that, Finola, if you want to skip me online and tell us about that, please do. If you want to pass or talk later, that's fine.
Well,
Okay.
actually, I was up and I spent more time in a place called the north of West Bengal, which has a border with Bhutan. So I didn't spend a lot of time in Bhutan, but I did visit it. You could go across the border. You weren't supposed to, but if you got away with it, if you could do it, it was good. And I stayed in a town called Phuentsholing. I think that's how you say it. It's a border. It's a twin town with a town in West Bengal called Jaigan. So I stayed there, but I couldn't make much inroads into Bhutan because I was stopped a couple of times by the police and told that I should leave because I didn't have a visa. You're meant to have a visa before you go. And I think you're only allowed to go on a package tour, something that's organized. And I think it's about, you have to spend, I've read this, that you have to spend $200 a day on your tour. So you can't do it on the cheap like a backpacker. But I was in the south of Bhutan.
And is that the name of the town, Finola? I found it for you.
The town is called Phoents something.
Yes. I think I found it.
OLING.
Yeah, something like that. Phuentsholing. And it borders Bengal, the north of West Bengal, and it's the town in Bengal is Jaigan, Jaigaon. I think the first slide that you showed was Phuentsholing. That's a very familiar sight to me, with the police stand in the middle of the road.
Mhm.
So interesting. So interesting. I put the name of the town if anybody wants to Google it. I've been Googling this whole time to watch the map because I love the geography. Thank you so much for your talk, Frankie. My curiosity, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, is are the people of Bhutan somewhat homogenous, or do you find several different ethnicities or
no. There not a lot of no.
Okay. And do they consider themselves, I guess, I don't know if you ever had this deep of a conversation, but do they consider themselves to be of a historical people group? Like for example, there's some persons, like for example, like Vietnam, they would consider themselves to be of the same ethnicity as Southern Chinese, but they have a national distinction. Or for example, Cambodia considers themselves to be a certain ethnicity that just becomes their own nationality. Do they consider themselves to be of a similar nationality or a common
I
heritage?
don't know. If you ask them, all I know is they call themselves Bhutanese, but I have no idea as far as the rest of it goes. You know, I didn't find any place that was like against another place, you know, or people. I didn't see any of that, you know. Or you don't see the extreme of wealthy versus poor. You see where working, you know, a bigger farm, you know, or more children or what have you. And education is very important. And many of them have left the country for education and then come back, you know, but I really can't answer that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Frankie,
Yeah.
if no one else does. Like to get into the country, you know, you have to go with a group, but what group did you go with? And
Go ahead.
and I was just wondering, like, how much planning did it take time, like getting a visa or whatever?
I went with Women's Tours. It's a group, and I've done a couple of things with them. And they've virtually took care of getting our visas, all the paperwork. There was a lot of paperwork that we had to fill out, but they got it for us. They did it, and they made the arrangements.
That's really cool. It looks like an amazing trip, and I love that they are trying to protect their culture and are very careful about outside influences.
I can tell you one night, if I have time, I know I'm at the top, but sometimes you learn things in an odd way. And it just, so far I have almost every single time I've hit it into 8,000, 12,000 heights. I've gotten the sickness. Altitude sickness. And it just so happened that I got it one day in Bhutan. And it turned out to be one of those glorious days, in spite of the fact I was up chucking and sick as a dog, because the people are so cordial, polite. You almost think that they don't have fun. And so, but the guides were all fun. And when the dancers came, they were fun. But when you're out, they're all totally business with you. So I got sick. And so this bell rang when everybody left. And they were, you know, so whatever. And so as soon as everybody left the building we were in, all you could hear was children laughing, whatever. So from my window, I could see the town and the women working and the men working and the kids playing. And as soon as the bell rang that they were back, everything was silent again. So even the children are so conditioned to good manners and stuff, which, you know, I found very interesting. And I wouldn't have seen that if I hadn't gotten sick. You know,
wow,
so.
That's really interesting. Thank you for sharing all your experiences with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that,
I think there's one more. Susie, do you want to?
Yeah, just Frankie, did you like it enough you would go back, or what's your next trip? Where else would you like to go?
I would go back there, but I'm always looking to do something different.
Do you have anything on the books right now?
No, actually, I just got back from cycling across Canada, and I had a couple of little episodes. We hiked the Azores a little while ago, and I'm not real anxious right now to go somewhere. I got stuck in the Azores for 9 extra days because of COVID, and so it turned out great because the quarantine we were in the mountains, so it didn't really stop us any, and I wasn't really sick. And so, but I just couldn't get out of the country because I couldn't get the right paperwork to get out. So that sort of put a little damper on me really wanting to go out of the country right now.
Makes sense.
Which part of Canada?
Pardon?
Which part of Canada? Western or eastern?
We did the petite train from Montreal to Quebec. It was a short little ride, but it was fun, and it was 4 days of climbing, and then one day, a whole day of not putting your foot on the pedal coming down. So that was fun. That was just a fun one.
Awesome. Well, my biggest regret, Frankie, I actually lived in China for 3 years, and my biggest regret was never taking the train to Lhasa and seeing the Tibetan side of the Himalayas. But I did get to go to Nepal, and I did stay above the clouds for about 2 weeks, way up in the mountains. But I definitely would love to go to Bhutan. So thank you for sharing, and it's got me excited to think about it again. Maybe I'll try to do something. But like you said, the travel time is so rough.
Yeah. That's rough, and like I said, as the COVID stuff diminishes a little, it'll get a little easier. But I got a little panicky because even going to Canada, now our country opened up so that I knew I could get home. But then Canada has where they'll quarantine you, and they'll really quarantine you if you get it. So you might not enjoy yourself there. So it's like trying to figure out what rules and whatever. So, and there's many places in the US to go. So just see more of the US right now.
I agree with that sentiment. Oh, do you have something else, Jen? Muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you. I did not catch where you live, but I was curious about the amount of training that you did, because obviously there aren't very many places in the US where you can train for 3 weeks of bike riding. So I was curious as to what you did.
So my very first, I'll just do this. I live in Florida, so you're right. There's no place to really train. But I do ride a lot, so, and then you just have to do certain things to make yourself stronger. For here, my very first ride, into well, I'll just say that my very first cross-country ride, one of the things they said was that if you can ride 20 miles, then you're just going to be in pain for 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, you can do anything. So then I started getting upset if I don't go somewhere over 2 weeks, because I want to at least enjoy a day out of all the suffering. So
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing such an amazing and inspiring travel trip.
yeah, it wasn't inspired. There's certain countries that are, that was inspiring just to see truly, happy people, and I just got to see it again in the Azores, because that's another country that has honed in ways to stay. There wasn't a person that I met in either country, the Azores or Bhutan, that had left and didn't want to go home. And so, because no matter what, you meet them, and let's say they had become very successful somewhere else, they were more than happy to go home and be a taxi driver or work on a farm for the beauty of being back with their family and in a culture that they were happy in, which, that to me was the inspiring thing of the closeness of the families and how important that is to the real happiness. When you're talking happiness, is that closeness to the family, which, you know, gets a little lost in this one, you know.
Is your athletic husband going to join you on one of these bike trips?
Oh, he joins me, period. He come, we usually, he doesn't want to be tortured as much as I do. So we usually work it so that we are together before the real torture or after the real torture. But yeah, no, he rides with me all the time now. That was one of the things, you know, he's a martial artist. And I used to always joke with him that, you know, those rough, tough guys, you know, you'd really like the cyclists. You really like them. They're not as nasty as you guys, you know, so yeah, and he likes them all. So.
Thank you very much, Frankie.
All righty. Well, you guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
Frankie. Thanks for joining us. Take
We're
care.
going to go out and ride our
Thank
bikes
you.
and wear our helmets.
Pardon?
We're going to go out and ride our bikes and wear our helmets.
Yes, please wear your helmets.
That was
So
very interesting.
Finola, I have a question for Finola. Where are you that it's dark and you're in your car?
I'm in Dublin and I'm
I
sitting
thought
in
you
my
might
car.
be.
It's pitch dark since 4:30. Well,
Right.
Yeah, it is dark. I couldn't believe that. Yeah, I thought you must be
Yeah.
back in Ireland. Yeah.
I got back on Sunday.
When are you back in the States?
Supposed to be the 21st of December.
All right, before Christmas. Okay, cool.
Just
Oh.
supposed, yeah.
Bye, guys.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go
Bye.
ahead and wrap up this meeting. There's nothing else. We can close with the Rotary motto of service.
Service
above
above
all.
self.
Oh,
All right, bye, everybody. Thanks, Frankie.
Take care.
Bye.
thank you,
Thank
Frankie.
you so much,
Everybody.
Frankie.
That was
Thank you
very
so much.
interesting. Bye-bye.
Have
Thank
a
you.
great one. Happy holidays.
Thanks.
Happy
Thank you. And
holidays.
you.
Thank you.
And you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you next Wednesday.
Hi, Andre.
All right, I'm signing off now. All right, bye, guys.
Take care.